insightful discussions with local and international business leaders, economists, entrepreneurs, and other professionals. Join Love FM 105.1 and Love TV Live this and every Saturday from 2 to 3:30 p.m. for the program Business Talk. Gain valuable insights into the world of business as we profile successful Liberian entrepreneurs in and out of Liberia as they provide business strategies, entrepreneurship, and financial planning. Business Talk, your one-stop shop in the world. Week with our internet. We hope that it doesn't occur because we are sensing some technical glitches as it relates to the internet fluctuation. However, my name is Rufus Divine Cannon. I'm here this afternoon and will shortly be joined by Mr. Alva Topa and Mr. Elkina R. Phillips. Both of them of the USA will be joining the program as usual to dissect the issues that matters to the growth and development of our beloved country, Mama. To say a team
Business Talk.
works
Business
supported
Talk. Business Talk.
Today's radio. Let me now cross over to Mr. Alva Topa. He's there in the USA. And good afternoon, Mr. Topa. The internet trying me.
Don't let it try you. Don't let it try you. Gotta make sure we're able to get to the people.
We need to get to the people, definitely. So we're trying all we.
Wait a second. Oh. Waiting for Akino, right? Okay.
Those things counts. So we hope and pray that the internet going to help us to do what is.
Have you met my wife before?
Oh no! How are you, madam?
Wonderful. How are you?
Okay. Thanks so kindly for our senior brother.
This is my wife, my nurse, my doctor, everything.
I know, right? That's good.
And she's an entrepreneur. She's a businesswoman as well.
Oh wow, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips.
Good morning.
Ava just show his.
Hey guys, how we doing today?
I'm good.
For my end.
Seems like everything's working today.
Probably got to handle the echo a little bit, I think.
Okay. So let's hear from you, man. Today is a wonderful time of discussion as we have dubbed today's edition of the program Business Talk. We're looking at Diaspora investments, effect in Liberia's business. We'll be looking at remittances. We'll be looking at importation, technology transfer, new business development, and job creation. What have you to say concerning our talking point for today?
I'm excited. I'm excited about the show today. I think that today's show will be a great show. I'm excited about the topic. I think the topics will be very, very, very good. And I think once we can dive deep into these topics, I think we'll be able to bring some light and expand on the business community and what small Liberian businesses can benefit from the diaspora. Ava, what do you think about that?
Today's topic is a very huge topic. That's the thing. That's my only concern. Because, there are multiple pieces we're looking at. We're looking at the effect of remittances, essentially, or the effect of the diaspora on Liberia business. So we can look at remittances, and that's a topic that we could take 2 hours on just by itself, even maybe more. We'll look at, from my perspective now, some of the subtopics on the diaspora effect will be importation, will be exportation, technology transfer, skills transfer, new business development, job creation, family support, infrastructure development. And then if we can build a critical mass of diaspora investment as a one lump sum, it can even be more significant. So there's a lot to talk about on this topic. And, we can break it down and see how we can progress. But I'm excited. It's a topic that I've always, pushed in terms of diaspora investment, integration of the diaspora and the people on the ground. Because if anybody from the diaspora is investing in Liberia, most likely they will have ground employees or ground partners. And we have to make that dynamic work. So that's why I'm excited about this. So is Rufus there? Rufus.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think what you're expanding upon, considering even in tough economic times, slow economic times, challenging economic times in Liberia, just the effects of remittances to, person-to-person remittances in Liberia plays a very, very vital role to that economy continuing to move forward. So, good topic today, Rufus. You're the pilot, I'm the co-pilot, and Ava is the navigator. So plot our course, give it to Ava. You're already giving us the course, and let's take off. Everybody, please fasten your seatbelt, put your
I think, Mr. Phillips, you need to control from that side as it relates to the discussion, because I'm trying to do all I can to get this thing work from our end here, because it's troubling. Like last week, we had these same difficulties. We tried putting things together. It was working, but I don't know. When good things about to happen, the ugly things try to show its face. I think that's from this point, but we try to do all we can to make this work. So you can hand off on that side. You and Mr. Toba be on. And
Okay, so what we'll do, Ava, when you're about to talk, just raise your hand, and then what I'll do is I will mute, and then when I'm about to talk, I'll raise my hand, and then you mute. So only one person can talk at a time, because we're trying to synchronize the platform. So you go. So Ava, you take off first. You lead the discussion, and then what I'll do is I'll just buttress your point. Let's go.
I'm not hearing you. You're muted.
Okay, now, Rufus, can you hear me? Rufus, can you hear me? I want to make sure our friends in Liberia can hear me. But anyway, I'm not muted anymore, so hopefully they can hear me. It says I'm in a show. So again, I want to say welcome to all the listeners out there. This is exciting to be able to bring this kind of programming to you. And hopefully very soon we'll be able to start scheduling guests to come on and to share their vast knowledge of these different topics we are sharing. But today we are focused on the effects of the diaspora um, in Liberia business, how things work, just the Liberian economy as a whole. And for me, I would start with the basic. Let's start with family support. That's where a lot of the effort goes into how people support their family in the diaspora, from the diaspora. And we know times are hard in Liberia. We know the economy is tough. We know there's limitations with jobs. So it's just important that those people who have something called reach back, where you can look behind you and somebody they're able to hand you something, whether you got to turn around, whether over your shoulder, that can help you. So it's just important that we recognize that and we appreciate the people in the diaspora for all they do for the people on the ground. And our, big dream and vision is that the people on the ground will have similar appreciation because, not to personalize it, but sometimes I hear from people in the diaspora, I gave my family this, I gave my friend this, I gave them this. But then when somebody come in for them to send one day bracelet or one day something, it's only hard for them to do. So not that you can satisfy your family member or your friend in the diaspora, but you can show an appreciation sometimes that they can say, yes, this person really appreciate what I'm doing. But sometimes they get questions like, oh, that all? Nothing I know. And folks, as much as we send those remittances to our friends and family, just know for any one person in the diaspora, you, the family or friend, you're not the only person asking them. And you're not the only person who's creating that urgency. And it's a skill. Some people know how to make it feel like if you don't help them, they will die. Or if you don't help them, whatever they got going on will not happen. So there's a whole art to the remittance thing, to the asking thing. But all of that is part of what we do. So at some point, we have to build, we have to work together, we have to build businesses that will allow people to be independent, right? They require that investment because no access to capital limited. But we want people to be independent, that they can do their own thing, that now the investment or the remittances coming from people in the US can go to business, can go to turning the economy around, can go to job creation, and even in some instances, based on how big we can scale it up, it can go to infrastructure development. Akina.
Okay, very good point. I'll take off from there. I think one of the most important things that we Liberians in the diaspora and Liberians back home understand is the effect of this remittance, right? Like you rightly said, family support. Let's just take that one. Let's build on that one point. Family support. So when you break down family support, where does all of that remittance money go when it comes to family support? It's either tuition for schools, family upkeep, rent. There may be a death in the family, funeral arrangements. It might also be investing in small business. It might also be for hospital a medical bill. Somebody is sick, somebody got injured, and the family in the diaspora, they're pulling monies together and then sending it over to meet that. But I think more importantly is, where does that money end up? So once the money goes to Western Union, MoneyGram, SendWave, or through a bank wire, when that person receives that money, where is that money being paid? Okay, so the secondary effect of that money. So it goes to a small clinic, it goes to a small pharmacy, and then that money is spent there. It goes to a small business, to the funeral home, to the guy who makes the coffin, the guy who does the flowers. All of those things are residual. It's almost like throwing a rock in the pond. When you throw the rock in the pond, the waves it makes before it actually reaches the shore is what we call the residual effect of that remittance. So our economy depends greatly. Last week, if you can remember, Ava expanded on the number. I was looking at 350, 375. He said, no, hang on. When you consider the holistic deep dive of this money remittance, is in the billions. Okay, so our economy depends on this remittance. The diaspora plays a major role in sending this. But the question now, on the table here, on this, family support, after this deep dive discussion, on different aspects of where the family support goes, what is the actual effect for that family, right? You send, somebody is sick, you send $1,000 in. Okay, the person gets well, that's one effect. But then the hospital that received that money, the pharmacy that received that money, is that hospital and is that pharmacy a Liberian-owned business that will benefit from that remittance? I think that's where the rubber meets the road. Are Liberian businesses on the receiving end of those remittance monies when they are spent? Not when they are received, but when they are received and spent. Are Liberians spending that money, putting that money into the hands of other Liberians, so that the residual effect of that remittance is greater felt, or is felt in a greater way within the Liberian society, within the Liberian economy? Nothing against the expats, nothing against the different nationalities, but what we're talking about here on this show, Business Talk, is about Liberian businesses. What is the effect of that money remittance when it is sent to a family member, received by a family member? Where is that family member spending that money? Is it with a Liberian-owned business, a Liberian-owned clinic, a Liberian-owned hospital, a Liberian-owned funeral home, a Liberian-owned pharmacy, a Liberian-owned school, a Liberian-owned bookstore, a Liberian-owned printing center? Because that's where we can receive the greater effect. Because anybody else where you spend that money would then be packaged up, bundled up, taken to the bank, and then wired out of the country. So we wouldn't be seeing the greater effect. Over to you, Ava.
Yeah, because of the echo, so sometimes there's a pause between the transition. But yes, and that's factual, right? Um, and that's how we can retain foreign currency in our country, if we are able to spend the money among ourselves. We have to start to love each other, and we really start to stop counting each other money, and just support on the basis of competence, of merit, of the ability of this Liberian business person to meet your expectations. And we know sometimes we are not there, but there's something called patriotism. There's something called nationalism that sometimes we got to put in front of that drop off, sometimes in performance or in value of service and all of those things. So, it's a wonderful thing for me to be a Liberian. It's a big thing for me to really support Liberians, whether as business people here in America or whether as business people in Liberia. And sometimes my wife Some of you just saw at the beginning of the show. She gets, pissed off with me because sometimes they don't perform to the level we want. But I still push it. I still try to find a Liberian to do, whatever work I want to do, So it's something that we have to start. Like a lot of communities here, the Indian community, the Chinese community, the Lebanese community, even the Ethiopian and Nigerian communities, they tend to try to keep their money among themselves. They try to patronize each other. They try to support each other. They try to collaborate on businesses. And we got to start to build that mindset of collaboration, that our dollar, the amount of times, they have something about the revolution of the dollar, like in the Black community, how many times that dollar will circulate in that community before its exit. Most times it doesn't even do 2 or 3 revolutions. It's out. It's gone to somebody else. So we got to start thinking along those lines. How long can we keep any dollar circulating in the Liberian community, whether diaspora, whether on the ground, and then together it's even stronger and better. So through these kind of exchanges and information sharing, we can start to think more Liberian. We can try to circulate our money more. And those are critical things. And whether it's family support, school, healthcare, small business, funeral. I know just in my family, on my mom's side, the Dunn family, over the last few months, years, we spent significant money on deaths. But now we're thinking, right, because we have a lot of property in Grand Bassa. As a family, let's get control of some of that land and start to do business. And we hope that more people can start to do that. I know families sometimes hard to deal with. So now they feel overly entitled. They feel like you owe them. But we've got to find a way to change our mindsets towards that and see how we can work together. El?
You bring up a very, very good point, Avan. So how many times does that dollar circulate within the Liberian economy? Okay, you just open up a whole new can of as we're saying in the business where you just open up a whole new can of worms. You just peeled back a whole new layer of discussion. So on this one point, right? Let all of you who are listening to the show today, let's just think about this one point for a second. Let me just reach back and do this. On this one point that Ava just brought up, right? How many times does that dollar circulate within the Liberian economy? What does that mean? So the money remittance comes in. The person gets the $500 for family support. The person gets the money and the person goes and he spends the money at a building material store. The building material store is not owned by a Liberian. What do you think that non-Liberian is going to do with that money? He's not moving it back into the circulation of the Liberian economy. He's going to package it, especially when you bring in a US dollar, $100 bill or $50 bill into that store. He's taking it, he's keeping it, because his next plan is at the end of the week, he takes all of his dollars, okay, his LD and his US, goes to the bank, and he takes his LD, got a connection in the bank, he buys US dollars, bundles it, and he wires it out. So that is why we cannot allow our country to be used as a place where people come to accumulate dollars and haul it out. Because if we continue to operate from this level or at this level, then we do not truly understand the effect of circulating that dollar more times within our economy. So that the more circulation of that dollar, right, the more that dollar circulates within our economy, within our community, within the society, the more persons and people, community that it will touch. And the more persons and people it touches, the more effects and transformation will take place. So that's why it's important to buy Liberian within our economy, because we know that that dollar will circulate and it would touch more persons and touch more lives and create more transformation and have a greater effect to stimulate growth and provide opportunities. But if you take that dollar, you on the receiving side, and you run to a non-Liberian store, a non-Liberian commercial entity, a non-Liberian service provider, that money will be bundled up, packed up, saved, and exported. And then what we have economic growth, but we don't have any development because people are attracted to Liberia only because Liberia uses the dollar as legal tender. And they're there to receive it, to pack it, to bundle it, to save it, and to export it. So the actual effect of the dollar in the country, in their economy, in our communities, in our societies will not be felt. We will see the numbers, right? We will see the statistics. But when you look at the statistics and you say, wow, but then you look at the country to see what the effects of those statistics are, you wouldn't see it there. You see poverty, you see desperation, you see suffering, you see lack of education, you see lack of development, nothing there. The healthcare system, everything is in the deplorable condition. But when you look at the statistics on the remittances, it blows your mind. It's way up in the air. You say, well, there's something wrong with this picture. And that is the reason why. The money coming in is being spent in more non-Liberian businesses. So as a result of that, the money is not moving and touching more persons and more people in more communities to have a greater effect to create more transformation, as opposed to the money being spent with a non-Liberian business so that, you know, Ava, one of the things you talked about yesterday on Spoon, you used that word civic education. And I'm hoping that that's what this show will also do. We will educate, we will enlighten, we will bring our people to a greater level of knowledge and understanding that remittance dollars, a lot of the non-Liberian businesses you see in Liberia today, they're there because the US dollar is there, and they came to collect it, they came to package it, they came to save it, and they came to export it. So Liberia is a source of wealth for them. So we need to rise, we need to elevate our thinking that, you know, I don't want to put it this way, but I have to put it this way because the truth is the truth. We're being used, okay? Our country is being used as a place where others come and they become wealthy. Why? Because we have not upped our game. We don't understand what we have. We don't understand what we possess. Over to you, Ava. Ava, you are muted. You are muted. You are muted.
I'm sorry, folks. Let me get back to this. And I know by now you have read it. So it's basically talking about the circulation of dollar in the Black community in the United States. So when somebody get money in the Black community, it tends to leave the community in 6 hours, because soon they spend that community, most likely soon they spend that money, most likely they're not spending it in the Black community, they spend it outside. Compare that with the Jewish community. A dollar circulates for approximately 20 days among the Jews. For the Asian American, the Chinese, the Japanese, and the other people, it circulates for 30 days. That's a long time for that money to stay in that community. And we got to appreciate that. We got to respect that. It's so important, the idea of that, because in economics, it's called the multiplier effect, the economic multiplier, where you're retaining the money within your community, and it's going from one person. Once you get it, you spend it with somebody like you. They spend it so somebody like them. And that's what we have to build. I don't know if there have been any studies in Liberia in terms of the circulation of dollar in the Black community, but now I'm going to challenge LISGIS, the Liberia Institute for Statistics and Geoinformation Services, to see if they can do something. Let's see how long we retain money within ourselves. And the problem that we face in terms of that circulation is we don't have enough Liberian businesses to spend money on in terms of the different services we need. We don't have enough investment in Liberian-owned businesses. And that's why the diaspora remittance is so important. You know, we can change that, because the other factor that also that causes that is that we are dependent. Our economy and what we need is dependent on the outside. So until we can start to build internally and add value, be able to be full secure, be able to have some small and light manufacturing, that we are producing things that we use on a day-to-day basis, then we can start to retain capital within our community. So it's very important for where we are as Liberians and what the impact of remittance can be. It can be huge. It's all about how we approach it and how we try to make sure that, you know, we as a people can benefit from what we get, can retain it among ourselves, and let it have some serious impact on how we do business and how we work with each other. Yeah.
Very good point. I think we're on to something here. I think the show today is going to opening a lot of people's eyes. I think this one point you brought up, the circulation, how many times this money circulates within our community is very, very important. Now you just open up another layer, right? So this remittance money comes in, and you just made the point that our economy is dependent on imports. We import more. I think you guys call it a balance of trade, right? Importation to exportation. We export more raw material, rubber, dry coffee, dry cocoa beans, palm oil, unprocessed, iron ore, no value to it. But then when you accumulate that in terms of dollars. So let's just take a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side is import. On the right-hand side is export. So you got coffee, you got cocoa bean, dry cocoa beans, you got rubber, you got iron ore on the right, some gold is there, whatever the case is. But then you tally that up in terms of US dollars, okay? Let's look on the left-hand side. Tomato paste, luncheon meat, sardines, okay? I mean, you go down the list. I mean, Solo juice, I mean, Heineken beer. You go down the line. Everything on the left-hand side is importation, importation, importation. And don't forget, importation means dollars going out to pay for those imports coming in. So and where is that dollar going out coming from? It's coming, a large part of it is coming from the remittances. From the remittances that Liberians receive, and Liberians go and spend these remittances at non-Liberian businesses for commodities, okay? Toothpaste, soap, building materials, you name it, all of those things, they're not made in Liberia, they're all imported. So as a result of that, the non-Liberian businesses who focus on the importation of these commodities that the economy depends on, that the community depends on, they're strategically positioned, as we'll say in business, to be on the receiving end of a large portion of this remittance money. And when they receive this remittance money is sent out. Look at the Solo juice, for example. Solo juice is all the way from Maryland County to Grand Cape County, from Montserrat County to Nema and to Lofa. Every store, every drinking spot, every restaurant, every hotel is selling Solo juice. And those are commodity. Tomato paste. We don't make tomato paste, but you can't cook a Liberian meal in Liberia without tomato paste. I mean, you look at the soap we take bath with. Okay, all of that is imported. So I think one of the things we need to strategically think about, dwell on, expand on, and do some critical thinking about is how we can circulate, we can allow the remittance dollars into our country to be circulated more amongst Liberian businesses. So if anything Liberians should take from this show today in Liberia, make sure when you receive money through SendWave, MoneyGram, or Western Union, think before you spend it. think before you spend it. Now you've been educated. Now you've been informed. Now you've gained knowledge. Now you have the understanding as to what the effect of that money that you just received can have or cannot have in your community. How many persons is that money going to touch to have the multiplying effect to bring about transformational change in the economy that will lead to job creation for Liberian business, and so that when you spend that money with a Liberian business, you will get a greater effect within the community as opposed to spending it with a non-Liberian business who would pack it, save it, keep it, and export it. So I think that's important. I think we should move on to the next point there, Ava. I think the next point there that we had this morning on the topic was the remittance and then the importation of goods, importation. So let me just kick that one off. I think one of the things that the diaspora do is what we call the barrel business.
Before you go on, let's just touch on remittances, foreign and internal within the country, you know, like mobile money and other things, right? So remittances are so critical all over the world today with the technology that exists. So anybody sending money, or, you know, when you're sending money, there's a carrier or there's a financial technology company that you are giving that money to remit to the next country, let's say to Liberia. Now, you as a sender, you're probably paying a fee there. In some instances, when your person comes to receive that money, because some of that money could go through different chains, that money could come directly to an operator for that remittance company, and it may not require you to pay. Or that money could go through the telco, okay, where you have an additional fee on top of it, where you may go to Lone Star or to somebody else, another operator, to collect that money. And then government also sometimes will tax that money. So that's why somebody say you $100, when it get to you, it may be 3 to 5% less than what it is, because there are intermediaries between that money getting to you. So we have to understand that concept, and sometimes it's not there for people to understand. Then locally, with, you know, the mobile money now, you can just press a button and send money from your wallet, your electronic wallet, to another person's electronic wallet. And the more we build the technology infrastructure in Liberia, the more most of our financial transactions can be automated or digitized. It gives government the opportunity for tax. So we should not be afraid of that. Yes, we do have leaders that are not using our resources the right way. But for government to survive, most times, government depends on taxation. And with the volume of remittances that are going, and even if things will get better, that volume of remittances can increase, and it will be to government revenue. And then when we keep that money in our own community too and turn it around, we'll also be able to pay more taxes to government. So we need to create a virtual economic cycle where we are all benefiting. It's kind of a closed loop versus a vicious cycle where it's just focused on exploitation. So I think I just wanted to share that piece, and then we can continue with the topic that we just shifted to.
Okay, so you just touched on something. I would digress. I would not move to importation. Let's just stay on, because what you just talked about is the technological aspect of the remittance side of it, right? You talked about the technology. So let's go deeper into that. Let's go deeper. Let's go higher, and let's expand. What you just talked about, Ava, is something I'm passionate about on the technology side. This mobile money domestically on the mobile operators. If I was to ask the listening audience today, right? Can anybody put up on the chat here, either on the Love FM chat, the Love TV live chat, or on the other chat here? can you please name the 2 largest banks in Liberia? Okay. Can anybody put the 2 largest banks in Liberia? Just put it up on the chat or put it up on WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp group, the business talk group, the 2 largest banks in Liberia. You can put it up there and I'll continue talking. Okay. So the technology aspect of the running of the money remittance, you've got to understand that mobile money is an infrastructure, the technology that resides on the mobile operators network. And mobile money is a major source of revenue in addition to the voice and the data. So mobile money creates a third revenue stream for the mobile operator. So when you own a mobile telecom network and you own that license and you come to a country and you build your base stations, you build your microwave links, your backhaul, you get your internet connectivity, you pipe it in, you get your power system for your base stations. When you build that network infrastructure across that country, somebody says CBL and LBDI. Okay, keep on putting more answers there. When you build that mobile infrastructure, one thing you've got to understand is that I think people need to understand, the government, the leaders, the telecom regulators need to understand those subscribers who buy the SIM card loaded in their cell phone and connect to that mobile network. You've now become the ownership of the mobile operator, because that mobile operator controls data coming in and going out of that phone, and the subscription that you paid, be it prepaid or be it monthly pay. So now the mobile operator can now build a telecom infrastructure, and he controls the gateway access and exit to that infrastructure. So that's why you have interconnectivity. But interconnectivity between the mobile networks operating in the country have to be regulated, mandated, and effectively overseen and by the telecom regulator. So let's go deeper into this. Mobile network infrastructures are basically toll roads. They're basically toll roads. You pay a toll on that network. So if you're on Lone Star and you want to call Orange, you're going to have to pay a toll. It's called interconnectivity. Now, right now, as it currently stands in Liberia, you cannot move money from Momo, Lone Star mobile money, over to Orange because the interconnect is not there. That's interbanking. Where Liberia stands to gain the most of in what it is, even the project that you're trying to do right now with your own money remittance network. Am I correct? Okay. Where that project should reside should actually be on the people's network called LibTelco, because LibTelco is the people's network. That's the government's network. So that network infrastructure should be built in a way to accommodate new Liberian businesses with new ICT technology, mobile money, because once you do that on the people's network, the overwhelming majority of that money can stay within the Liberian community, within the Liberian government. Okay, so let me just give the answer. The two biggest banks in Liberia are called MTN Mobile Money and Orange Mobile Money, because they hold the greatest amount of LD and USD in the country, because the most transactions are taking place where? On mobile money every day. So that's, you kind of give everybody a better understanding of that. I mean, the banks came, Echo Bank, GT Bank, UBA Bank, they came and tried to put in ATM machines. They came to put in ATM machine, but what happened? The electricity killed them. So what did the technology do? MTN Mobile Money and Orange or Cellcom, they created a mobile money, and now you got more human ATMs across the country called money changers and forex bureaus. So the technology evolved, but the challenge becomes where leadership, government does not understand the power of fintech, as they call it, financial technology, so that LibTelco is the hidden gem. Because LibTelco, the facility, that Broad and Johnson Street or Broad and Lane Street location, that's where the fiber cable lands. the fiber cable that runs from France all the way down the Africa coast to Europe, fiber ACE, it lands, it terminates right there in Liptelco Yard, in the CCL building. So Liptelco sits on the fiber. Liptelco has telecom infrastructure. So all Liberians who want to do fintech should build their infrastructure where? Not on Lone Star or MTN, because they're not going to give you access. You got to understand this. Nobody who's making all of this money in this market like Liberia is going to open their infrastructure to competition. It's simply not going to happen. They're not going to give you the API. You can forget about it. The API is the handshake interconnect between that you can use to move to gain access to the network. They're not going to give it to you. So Liptelco is where all of the Liberian-owned fintech creators from the US, from Europe, who want to build something, you need to connect with Liptelco so that that technology can reside on the Liptelco infrastructure. Why? Because that's the people's network. That Liptelco is owned by, for, and of the people of Liberia. MTN and Orange, they're not Liberian companies. Orange is the mobile arm of France Telecom. All of the profits for Orange go back to France. MTN is a South African-owned company. All of the profits go back to South Africa. So we got to understand what we're dealing with, because without a proper understanding, you will not be able to craft a solution to bring about transformational change that we need to move the economy further. Because you talk about tax revenue. Let's go to the tax revenue on mobile transactions. It's a great source of tax revenue. Why? Because it can be actually monitored. But the question now becomes, is it monitored? Right? Because if you have mobile transactions all across the country, there are more mobile transactions in Liberia. There are more mobile transactions across Liberia, from Maryland County to Cape Mount, from Montserrat to Nimba and to Lofa, than any banking transaction. There are more mobile transactions. So if government was receiving a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, whatever the case is, percent on mobile transactions, just imagine what our tax revenue collections could be. So that's why it's important to invest in mobile telecom infrastructure from a government perspective, because on that infrastructure, you can layer multiple services, such as tax revenue collection, such as electricity transactions. You can monitor different type of equipment on that infrastructure, and Liptelco is the people's network. That network, that infrastructure is owned by, and it is for the people of the Republic of Liberia. And so that's all the more reason why Liptelco plays a very, very important, very, very vital role, similar to LEC, in the technology space, from the internet connectivity, because they have all of the infrastructure there. So fintech needs to be, because Lone Star is not going to give you access. They're not going to give you access, because anything that comes with fintech that competes with them, that competes with Sendwave, you're going to compete with them. Why isn't Sendwave on Orange? Because the agreement is with MTN. I mean, so the question now becomes, why is it not possible for us to mandate, leadership to mandate, CBL to mandate that you need to accommodate the economy? So when you think about it, Ava, you're the financial guy. If you think about it, if we all agree that there are hundreds of millions of dollars being transacted on mobile infrastructure every day in Liberia, where does the Liberian economy sit? The Liberian economy actually sits on the two mobile operators. It sits on Lone Star, it sits on Orange. So that's why when you have a challenge in MTN or a challenge in Orange, the economy comes to a halt, because you can't get Sendwave in. Sendwave sends you a message that we're having a problem with our connection, and we're going to please give us a couple of hours to resolve it. So that means the remittance cannot go through. And then locally, right? I think a couple of weeks ago, there was a problem on the MTN side, and it hindered, it stopped, it blocked, it prevented millions of dollars from being transmitted within the Liberian economy. I mean, if anybody's listening, if they can please comment and tell me whether I'm right or wrong. Okay. So So the question now becomes, were they penalized for hindering, for blocking, for undermining the economic? What was the economic impact of that failure? Whose responsibility is that? So the person who bears the greatest responsibility for not allowing millions of dollars of transactions within the Liberian economy, which is the mobile operator, did the LTA apply a fine for that? So again, I don't want to go, off track here, but Telco plays a major role in fintech, in supporting, enabling, empowering Liberian fintech development within and across the country. And that is where we can make the greatest impact, because government will receive a greater percentage of the revenue there, as opposed to on Lone Star, MTN, or Orange. I'm not bashing them, but I'm just telling truth. Over to you, Abba.
No, your point is well taken. And even there is supposed to be, I think the company is called TIA, that's supposed to be monitoring the telco's revenue and giving government its fair share. I would need to dig a little bit more. I don't want to be presumptuous, but obviously with some of the information we heard in terms of the corruption that was going on there and their own ability to actually really effectively monitor those telcos. So there's a leakage there, a leakage that has to be handled. And so we just hope that the government would take their responsibility and be able to do that. So I guess we can move on to, importation now. And in terms of, diaspora efforts, how importation, the effect of importation. So let's say, for example, a family member has a small business and gets money to import goods. So that importation aspect of the remittances provides a supply of goods into the country, and it encourages entrepreneurship because it's business. Most time you're not importing those goods just for yourself. You're importing those goods for them to be sold. And people in the diaspora who are here may be exporting from here, but it's an importation in Liberia because they're importing whatever they're sending from here, they are importing it from here to our country. Okay, so the downside of that could be the loss of foreign exchange, but that's a different thing. The bottom line is goods are in demand, sometimes very high demand, that are being sent to the country, and they are being made available for Liberians. So the remittances have a huge impact in importation because they gave the people on the ground foreign currency. Okay, a lot of times if you can't pay in a US dollar, and that's why Akino said earlier, that's what makes Liberia attractive to a lot of different business people, because we operate with the US dollar. And that particular importation has some downstream effects. It can create jobs, whether from a distribution level or retail level, is helping to create jobs. It's helping to drive economic activity in the country. So we can't downplay all of those things and the impact that they have. We have to encourage it. We have to encourage entrepreneurship in this country. Most Liberians need to stop thinking only government job, but start thinking how I can do business, how I can do business effectively, how I can do business the right way. And I believe Akino has given some points on, what all the things a small business need to do. I would share, I think I have a 12-point guidance on small businesses and what they do. We can share them at a later date. But the effect of importation increases, what goods you have available. It stimulates retail trade, and it goes down the value chain, from importer to wholesaler to distributor to retailer. So different people are getting a little cut on everything that's coming through the process. And, we need that to happen for local businesses to be a part of that process and even get to the point where they themselves, because I always had this mindset, pick the best market woman and try to elevate her ability for access to capital, and let us start to import those products that she's been selling, that Liberians can gradually move up to that level of importers, wholesalers, and distributors. And when I say market one, I mean just one. Look at select products where we as Liberians can be able to invest, whether that peafood, whether that smoked fish, whether that luncheon meat, or something that we know, the bread and butter stuff that goes on a regular basis, that we can start to invest into. And through this medium, through other media outlets, through other platforms, let Liberians know that Liberians are in this business and they need to support them. That's how we build an entrepreneur class in Liberia among ourselves. El?
Point. On this importation issue, on this importation point, I mean, I think one of the great confirmation on importation is Camp Johnson Road. Look at Camp Johnson Road. Camp Johnson Road has been transformed. I remember, when we were in high school, we used to go to Camp Johnson Road. Camp Johnson Road was what? It was majority non-Liberian stores. We used to buy books there. If you remember, we used to buy our Story of Nation books, our English books, geography books, math books. All the books were sold on Camp Johnson Road back in the day. Here it is today, Camp Johnson Road, from Busequata gas station down the hill, all the way up now is almost a 90, 95, 98% Liberian-owned stores on both sides of the road. If I'm wrong, can anybody correct me here or not? But I think, and the reason I bring that up is we all have this, Liberians in the diaspora do a lot of what they call barrels, right? The barrel business, okay? And that's a form of importation. But I think one of the challenges for Liberian businesses is that we Liberians, we don't understand one of the most critical aspects about importation. And what is that? It's called business development. You have to develop the market. You've got to do business analysis, market analysis. You've got to strategize. You've got to, like you said, the point you just raised, find a local person, find the product, the segment of the market that she's in, sit with her, get the information, the data, the information that she has, what we call market intelligence, right? Get the market intelligence. Don't come from outside in the diaspora and coming into a market and believe within your mind that you know everything. You may have the money, but you don't have the knowledge, nor do you have the understanding or the revelation or the enlightenment as to what products go, what products don't go, and what time or seasons they move or they don't move. So that's why it's important you do your business analysis, your market analysis, your business development, and you acquire the market intelligence. And the next thing about importation is effective distribution of your product. If you look at the convenience stores, we live in the US. For those who are watching, listening here in the US, convenience stores are basically what we call channels. They're channels for distributing different products. I mean, you can go to every convenience store all across the US. You'll find Coca-Cola, you'll find Pepsi, you'll find Sprite, you'll find the same bag of chips in every store. That's why convenience stores are very strategically positioned, and they played a very important role for importation. Why? Because when you bring your goods, when you import your goods, you need a channel of distribution so that when you distribute it through the convenience stores or the gas stations, they are in strategic marketplaces. And then, like Ava said, everybody gets a piece of it. So importation plays a major role in the economy, in the Liberian economy, and the diaspora can play a very important role to support the importation. Now, why is importation, part of our discussion today? Because if you look at our economy, we said earlier, right, when we're talking about remittances, the expats, the non-Liberians in Liberia, what is their biggest business? Importation. They import tomato paste, toothpaste, toothbrush, even the noodles. I mean, you name it, the spaghetti, mixed vegetables in the can, they import everything. So why aren't Liberians importing goods to compete in that market segment? Okay, so again, that's why part of business development, market intelligence, and business and market analysis are so important. So if you try to do everything by yourself, then the lifting becomes heavier. That's why it's important to pull the right human resource and then have the conversation so that if it's $50,000 that's needed, pull 5 people together and let everybody invest 10K and bring importation of certain goods into the market. Granted, the import duty is another challenge, because if the import duty is high, then it will affect the price that you will sell that product in the market. Then your profitability will go lower. So I think government needs to play an important role in trying to see how they can reduce import duty, and so that they can encourage importation from the Liberian diaspora to compete in that market segment that the economy depends on greatly. And then Liberians, my advice, to us in the diaspora, engage the Connex, engage the NP, the LP, the Aminatas, and all of the other gas stations that are in Liberia. They have convenience stores. They're a strategic source for product distribution, because Connex is all across Liberia. I mean, so when you're importing a product, it's also very important to also think about the distribution of the product, because you need channels. You cannot build stores everywhere. That's why you work with the gas station. Let me prove a point to you, Avan. Do you know that at almost every Connex location, it was a Total before it became Connex. There's an Orange. It was a Cellcom. Then it became Orange store at the Connex gas stations. Why? Because it's in every community. There's an Orange store in the Connex in Unification Trans Menotes. So why? Because it's strategically located where? In the community. There's a convenience store there. So you don't only go to buy gas, just like I said, you put the kids in the car. By the time you want to buy $20 worth of gas, you stop at the gas station, all of a sudden everybody wants a bottle of soda, everybody wants a bag of chips. So instead of spending $20, you end up spending $40 or $50, because the convenience store got a portion of it and the gas station got a portion of it. So Liberians in the diaspora, importation into our community, into our country, is a major source of revenue, is a major investment. It would create a tremendous amount of jobs. It would provide a lot of opportunities, and it is indeed profitable. But the only way it would be profitable if you find, if you locate, if you identify distribution channels for your products. And those distribution channels don't only have to be gas stations. They can be the market women. Bring them a product, sit with them, bring them a product. They will connect you with other market women, and you can have distribution chains, distribution channels to move your product. But also, last but not least, don't forget to educate the market. That's all part of business development. Don't bring a product in the market believing that the market needs the product. You need to educate the market, because you're importing. If you don't educate the market, then how will the market have an appreciation of how important and how vital that product is? So educating your market, finding your distribution channel, getting your market intelligence, and then developing the market is a key for importation for diaspora Liberians. Over to you, Ava.
Wonderful, wonderful delivery. And before we go on to exportation, the point he made is very significant. And also, unfortunately, there's this theory that when people from the diaspora bring their product on the ground, the people on the ground know they got a clock ticking, that they got to spend a certain amount of time before they go back. So some people may take their products, delay on paying them, different strategies they will use, or they will just say, look, we're not buying that person stuff until they're ready to go and they can't put it to banjo. So you got to know that what the market is like. And if you understand the kind of product you bring in, like Akina says, it's a product that the market is educated on, that they need, that you have already exposed, then you got a better chance of sales success. But if it's something that they can hold up on, that's not necessarily a necessity that, they can string you along on, then you got a greater challenge. So we got to understand the nuances until we can be honest with each other, until we can love each other and work together, with integrity, And you see, for me, most time I don't believe in integrity or honesty or stuff because people are human. Humans will sin, humans will fail. It's about a system of accountability that you develop that can hold people accountable. If you let me take the call, go ahead. 1 minute, I'll be right back. But your point you made was very, we can go on to exportation now.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about exportation. What can the diaspora do, the diaspora Liberian investor do in Liberia as it relates to exporting goods and products? So this we talked about last week. We talked about it to some degree, where we said, in the agricultural sector, diasporans can come in, make investments, and create different products from cassava chips and other things that will be important for exporting, and that will also create new jobs and provide new opportunities within the country, within the economy, so that we can grow this economy. Diasporans, the Liberian diaspora is very important. Okay, very, very important, because we're a source of major revenue. So people have their 401k plans, their savings, they're taking business loans. But again, one of the most important things we need to do is we need to strategize. We need to come together. I think, Avajad made a very important point. He said, I don't think too much about being trustworthy and things like that. I think one of the most important things I've learned in my career in business development and sales and, here in the U.S. is most of my customers don't know me. It is a building of a relationship over time. But one of the things they're focused on, they're focused on, can you solve my problem? Can you solve my problem? Are you the one to bring this solution, the guy has a headache and he's looking for either Advil, Tylenol, Aleve, or Excedrin. He doesn't care what bottle is in, but he needs something to relieve that pain. So business is like that. You've got to be a solution provider. You have to be the one to come in to solve a problem. So when you identify a problem in the marketplace, then you develop a strategy to deliver a solution to that market, to that problem. So on the issue of exportation, that's why, again, we Liberians in the diaspora play a very important role in building our economy, creating jobs, and creating what I now define as the transformational change that we need to move this country forward. So how do we do it? We've got to pull together. It's not about me trusting you or you trusting me. No, the question here is, do you see what I see? Do we share a common vision? Do we share the common objective? Are we persistent together? Are we consistent together? Are we deliberate together? Or are we purposeful together in developing a plan and a strategy that we can achieve this objective, which is to deliver this solution into the market, and as a result of that, get a return on investment? I don't like to talk about making money, because when you talk about making money, then people go off in the wrong direction, because then they focus on making money. The focus here is the money comes after the work is completed. The money is the result of the work. The money is not the focus of the work. No, completing the objective is the focus of the investment. And as a result of the completion of that project, or that delivering the good, delivering the solution, the money comes. So, that's how partnerships are formed. And until we in the diaspora understand this, you look at the expat investors in Liberia. The guys come in, they look at the market, they say, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to pick this market apart. We're the importers. These guys, they've got money, but they don't understand it. So what we're going to do in the meeting, so, okay, you two guys, you go to Lofa, you two guys, you go to Bapolo, you two guys go to Kema, you two guys go to Bombe, you two guys go to Lofa. They divide themselves in twos all across the country. Let's pool our money. We'll bring the goods in and we'll transport the goods into these areas. Why? Because mobile money, fintech infrastructure is bringing the remittances in. So if we strategically position ourselves in all of these cities across Liberia, and we have the goods that the community and the society, the communities want and the economy needs, we will be in a strategic position to recoup all of our investments. That is what they call planning an objective. You plan, you strategize, and then you pull your people together and you place them strategically in positions, and then you execute. And then you execute because 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, that money comes in on remittances. So the question now is for us Liberians here, how can we position ourselves strategically so that when we bring goods in or we ship goods out, how do we then meet a return on our investment? So somebody's talking about coming together. I don't just like to bring people together for the sake of coming together. Then all of a sudden you have a crowd and you have chaos. People come together around an objective. They come together around a strategy. That's what galvanizes people. That's what creates cohesion. That's what creates cohesion. People come together around a strategy and objective. So I will leave that there. Over to you, Ava, on export. Let's move to the next one. The next one is new business development and new job creation. New business development and job creation. Over to you, Ava.
Wonderful. So people can understand all these things tie in, and I really appreciate the level of engagement of the people who are, watching this show, and the questions they are asking and the commentary they're providing is really helpful. It's really sparking different aspects of the conversation. And the one Mr. Lowenthal just asked, and you mentioned a little bit of, and I'll read it for people in general. Great discussion for economic and social development in Liberia. Once the Liberian government and people are ready for real development. Folks, now is the time. We have to be ready now. The opportunity is huge for us to get on the ground floor. Yes, our country being 177 years, but real development, especially from a structural and Liberian investor perspective, is now. Now is the time for us to do it. Okay. And then he says, when retired Liberians in the diaspora invest some of the retirement benefits, and Kino mentioned that they got something here for people in Liberia who listen and don't know, called the 401k, where you can, while you're working, you keep putting money away, your company matching it, and then you're building up. Most times you don't touch it, even though you can take a loan from it. And some of us rascals, we have done that with ours, but small stay there. But you can build it up over time, 25 years, 30 years, or putting $300 every month, your company matching it. And some people put more because as they move up in jobs, they have more disposable income and they can afford to increase their contributions to their 401k. So in that case, their money is building. So many of them will have $300,000, $500,000, $1 million when they retire. Okay, so let me just do some simple math for us so we can understand before I come to address the potential in investment. So as somebody who moves to Liberia, let's say they own, beside the investment, beside the 401k, most of them will probably be on something called Social Security. They will get at least some portion of what they used to make. The higher, the more money they make and taxes they pay, the more they will get. But let's just cap it and then getting $1,500. But on average, those people who getting $1,500, they will spend $1,000 in the Liberian economy. Okay, and I'm just talking, I ain't get to the part where, because each of them will probably need a driver. They're getting older. They will need a caretaker. They will need a cook. They will need a washman. And sometimes are 2 persons because 1 person can do 24 hours. So basically, on minimum of 5 persons they will employ, plus their own personal expenses, their food, their daily living and stuff like that, assuming majority of their spending in Liberia, let's say they'll spend $1,000. If we get to about 5,000 of them, each month, they're spending 1,000 times 12 months, that's $60 million coming into the Liberian economy. 60 million. And then if we just look at them, let's say investing in some kind of local business, 1,000 of them saying, you know what, they're picking the area here, I think he's okay. Let me invest 1,000 in him. So that only 20% of them investing in 1,000, investing $1,000. That's another $1 million being infused to the economy. Then some of them are young. They're not old. Okay? They will be 65. 65 is the new 45 today. So they will want to do business. Let's say 500 and decide we invest $10,000 and start a business. Whether they're buying the furniture, opening the office, hiring a few people, that 500 persons down $10,000, another 5 million. So on average, the diaspora can actually bring $66 million into the Liberian economy with ease. Really, with ease. If we can just create that foundation based on the questions he's asking. One, a friendly environment for diasporans, because some of them will be vulnerable. They will not know the land. They will not know the terrain. They don't understand it. They will need some protection. They will need some security. And they will need the courts to be better to resolve the issues they may have with people. Because we know for some reason we like to take advantage of other people. So people will try to jape them. They will want to go to court. They can't go to police station. The police station, the police will be asking them, oh, pay my way, and inflating it. Instead of $1 LD to get on bike, oh, pay my taxi or give me a car. So we got to change some of those things. And hopefully Gregory Kumo and his people are working towards that. So we got to create that hospitable environment for retirees. Like, look, most of them don't want to stay in the country. They stay in the country, they will be in homes. For me, I would rather be in Liberia with some, and old enough, if I'm not functioning right, for a Liberian person to be cleaning me, than for me to be in some kind of home here where I can even talk to somebody through my window, where I just like a prisoner, and only my guard or my nurse I can talk to. So they want to go to Liberia. So we got to create that environment I want. Now, the prospect of the return on investment is all about how we create our investment climate, how we can circulate the dollar among ourselves and the kind of business they go into. So those are important things. That's why I'm saying we got to start loving each other. We got to start supporting each other as business people, put aside some of the petty differences or creating these false narratives that separate us and drive wedges among us. The mindset change is critical, that we have to be Liberian first, okay? Liberian first, Liberian last. Once we start to think like that, we start being patriotic to our country. We start being nationalistic. Look at the Ghanaians. The Ghanaians think the best in everything. Whether you can beat any checker or think the better in checker, you can beat any export, think the better. So they love their country. They think Ghana is number one in Africa. And similarly, the Nigerians, now the Kenyans are getting that kind of mindset as well. So most Africans are elevating their own, individual mindset about how important they are, how good they are. And we are not second to anybody. We are as smart, we are as physical, we are as innovative as anybody. So we need to start having that positive mindset about each other and start to work together that we can scale. Because it's hard for one person to really build a whole farm. No one person can just build a big farm. It's not easy. So let's start to see how we can work together, create that investment climate, and be able to get returns for our people who want to come and invest, especially the diaspora retirees, but then the domestic people. The government has an obligation to both the domestic and the people who come in to create that environment for them to be successful. So it's just important for us to give those kind of examples about the potential that exists. And this is a very conservative estimate I'm looking at. It's an easy $100 million a year if, diaspora retirees or some kind of program that can be revolving, especially those who live in cold weather, that they can be coming to Liberia on a regular basis for 3-4 months and do what they do. So we have huge opportunities here, folks, but we just have to leverage those opportunities, take advantage of it, and be loving to each other, where I don't mind you being able to be successful. Yes, I'm happy for you to be successful. If we can start thinking like that, we'll be much better. Yeah.
Very good point. Very good point, Ava. One of the things you highlighted on is that I think many Liberians don't know, especially Liberians in the diaspora. Maybe Liberians in the diaspora know, maybe they don't know, maybe Liberians back home know, maybe the Liberian leadership understands it, maybe they know. The largest single, you want to call it foreign investment, but I call it Liberia, the largest Liberian diaspora, the largest segment that can invest in Liberia to create, to stimulate, to to initiate the transformational change that we need in that country to create the most amount of jobs all across the country is by far the Liberian diaspora investment segment, be it in Canada, Europe, or the EU, and the US. We are the cumulative total of our assets, right? From the home to the cars to 401k plan and savings. When you add that up, it tallies up into the billions. Not even Mittal Steel can match it. Not even Mittal Steel, the Firestone can match it. And this is real money. This is not shares, and no, this is real money. The challenge that I think that we're faced with is, as you know, Ava, most of us, except those the younger people in Liberia today, Liberia today, the young people are naturally entrepreneurs. Okay, that's the distinction. You look at Liberia today, all the young people, 30 years and younger, they're naturally entrepreneurs. The first thing they want to go into business. The first thing they want to open up a cyber cafe, drinking spot, small business, micro business, petty business. They want to get into a scratch card, mobile money business. They want to do something. So they understand it. The disconnect, the separation is with the older Liberians, especially those in the diaspora. The diaspora have not yet grown to the level of understanding this cooperation, this coming together, this forming of partnerships, this forming of business relationship where, as my wife always tells me, she's a businesswoman as well, everyone is a resource. Everyone is a resource. How to leverage, you use the word leverage today on the show, how to leverage your resources. Resources don't only mean money. Resources mean the people you're connected to. You need to be able to leverage your resources so that, and we don't, the reason why we have so much failure in diaspora investments in Liberia is because we're not forming the right relationships. We're not forming the right partnerships. We're not leveraging our resources, our relationships. We're not making the proper connections. And worst of all, we're not doing the business development aspect of the business. We're not properly educating, informing, and enlightening ourselves. We're just, we drive up, park our car, put on our swimming trunks, walk to the pool. We don't even check how deep the pool is, and we dive into the pool. And next thing we know, we're holding our head and coming out of the pool because the pool was only 3 feet. You're not supposed to dive into 3 feet of water. You will hurt, you will crush your head. We don't ask any questions. We come into the market with a level of arrogance that we believe that we know everything. So I think, one of the things we in the diaspora need to do is we need to humble ourselves, and we need to build the right relationships locally in the market. Even if you're coming in with the 10, the 15, the 50, the 80, the $100,000, it doesn't mean that you know everything. It's important for you to sit, to listen, and to learn, and then form the right relationships. You may want to bring in medications, American medications, into the country. But then what you need to do is to find out what medication will be the best that you can bring in, and then find the Liberian-owned pharmacies that are strategically positioned. Use Google as a resource. Google right now is popular. If you go to Google right now, put in Monrovia, Liberia, you click on the map. It will show you all the businesses across Monrovia. It will give you a great map of the city. You can find the Liberian pharmacists. Go and visit them. Sit down with them. Get the market analysis. Get the market data. Get what we call the market intelligence. Don't try doing everything all by yourself. It will always be heavier. If you try to pick up a big bucket of water or a tub of water, it will be heavier. Try to get some help, form the relationships, form the partnerships, so that in that partnership, you have a what? You have a unified purpose. You have a unified objective. Every person in that partnership, in that agreement, has their role to play. Define the roles in the agreement. That way, the lifting becomes less. If it's a $50,000 investment, get 10 people at $5,000 each. That's a less of a burden than getting 2 persons for $25,000 each. So I think that's one of the issues that challenges Liberians in the diaspora. Everybody wants to do things, by themselves, for themselves, to make a name for themselves. This is not about making a name. This is all about bringing about transformational change. 1, 2, getting a return on your investment. This money, you work hard for it. The other thing, about diasporans, Liberians investing and creating jobs and bringing transformational change in the country, identify your market. Are you going to invest in Rehe Field? Are you going to invest on Somalia Drive? Is it going to be Banave Estate? Is it going to be Stephen Toba Estate? Always make your investment in communities where you already have an existing market. Because when you have an existing market, then you don't have to go outside of that market. Make sure you make use of Facebook. Make use of the radio station. Liberia Today, we're blessed with so many FM stations that also stream. You got mobile money changers all around. So there's so much more to support small Liberian businesses today on the ground that come from the diaspora than ever before. But we're not making use of those resources. Let's take some calls. Rufus, if you're there, if you can give us a couple of more minutes, we appreciate it. So if we can take some calls, that would be great.
Wonderful. I have a caller here with me. Caller, please state your name and where you're calling from and share with us your knowledge or question.
Hey, I'm Cyrus BG. I'm calling in from Minnesota. For the discussion with the education for people who do business like there. There are a lot of things that happen with Liberian diaspora. Liberians living in diaspora, sorry, as a business. Some of the things that we go through. I'm a victim of it. I try. We don't understand that. We don't do the necessary research like doing part of this discussing on what's leading in the country. How can we get it there? Who are those that we can use as a distributor? I know there are a lot of issues in Liberia when it comes to trust. That's one thing. But we make the first mistake by not doing the SWOT analysis of what we should invest in. Maybe we just gonna take a little money out of Africa, got some money down. So we decided to just throw in the country that was and what we should prioritize. And that's where we made a mistake on our part. In Liberia, our government we decided from registering a business, starting a business in Liberia. There are a lot of bottlenecks. Have to do a lot of, throwing money here and there. Their own work. That's one challenge that people go through starting business in Liberia. You don't go to every instance. You go there, people listen to you. And sometimes people get frustrated in the middle of everything. They'll just drop it and say, oh, no, that doesn't get this. So the government needs to work on that. I still wonder why up to now free food don't have nutrition. That's one major thing. We see those on the market, those skyrocketing. The free food of the movement is a major problem. Once you have, for instance, you took a container to Liberia and it's a holiday weekend. Nobody's working there. The wheels of the industry is not turning at that place.
That's a whole different topic, and somebody mentioned that earlier with the free food.
Will be sitting at the free food and you are getting charged. Why is it that we'll not have 2-3 shifts? Even holidays. Here is holiday, it is holiday. There are places that will keep working. People even increase a pay because they want you to stay on the job on the house. Why is people not at that level? Once those things are there, you get charged double. When you come to find out, the bills you have to pay even more than the boost back on the container. That's one thing that needs to be looked at. Once that is done, business people will add those charges on those boosts once they are developed. They get back to the market. The end users get to pay all of the huge charges that business person incurred just to bring a container to the country. That's a huge problem.
Wonderful.
So these are things. Starting on business, we ourselves need to assess and see what's needed before we can invest. Look for the right people. like I said, when they were throwing the COVID money around here, the stimulus check, I took my money. I said, no, I don't want to spend it. I can't get this. Let me buy things for my breakfast stuff. I go wrong by even friends and family, because I felt if I buy this, it would go. So I just go, if I buy this, no, they will buy it. You can understand what it is. It's easy to sell that particular product, and then you just buy it, throw it there. I had a shop there. It had a lot of rules. I used to, I post on my social media, friends would go there. People would buy this. People would sell this one, can sell this stuff. At the end of the day, especially this weekend, it just went out. I'm a business owner here in Minnesota. I'm on an African school. I've been running, and I know what it is. I know what you have to go look into the images. What goes quickly here, that's why you have to keep it stored. What are some of those moves you just have to keep on the shelf, because once in a while somebody will come and look for it. It's not running. We have to keep it there. Somebody come and look for that and see other things we want to buy. Those are the kind of education our people have. And I hope that you keep up the show, as I was saying, that we see one of the more companies found on our network to see how we can provide the education about tips so you can the whole research. So it's very, very good topic.
Right.
Some of these things we can pick it up, we can advise these to write into government ministries and agencies on things that we can pick up and add up to their everyday work in making business, climate easy for people out here. Because home is where we all want to retire. Nobody wants to stay here in this. You want to go home, have your little business that you run in and out, and make sure that you have the economy and economic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cyrus. For folks who don't know, Cyrus McGee is an entrepreneur. Like he said, he has a business in Minnesota, an African store. I can't wait to visit Minnesota one of these days to patronize him. But also, I would engage him because, like Akina had mentioned earlier, about the opportunities when we're talking about exportation from Liberia, to start really exporting Liberian products and having an outlet to them. One of the biggest handicap is the packaging, and we discussed that at a different time, and hopefully we can get an expert who has worked with the FDA for her to explain to us some of the nuances around that. But also, Sarah is a part of the KMTV family. He's very interested in us simulcasting this show. So that's another opportunity, another outlet we can get to be able to get the message out there and to let more people understand, because this is so critical. We need a business class in Liberia, and to build that business class, they have to understand how business works. They got to understand what their return on investment will be. They got to understand the marketing aspect. They got to understand the organizational aspect. They got to understand hiring, the human resources aspect. They got to understand the financial aspect. So there's a lot to this. You don't just jump into business. That you got to understand the business you're getting into, the people you're getting into business with, your customers, the person you're buying from. It's a whole network that you have to be fairly understanding of for these things to happen. So thank you, Cyrus, for calling in. If there's any call on your side, Rufus, we're sorry we didn't recognize. Akina and I were talking so much. So you take the next few minutes, share with us your thoughts or anything that's on your side. Was you're on mute? We can't hear you.
All right. You can put forth your calls on 0887 105 105, 0778 5073. Those are numbers to call. You've been listening. Though earlier on we had some level of challenges with the internet, but the guys have worked tirelessly to restore sanity, so you can actually join the conversation and put forth those questions. You need clarity to things that they talked earlier on. The lines are open: 0887 105 105, 0778 5073 are the numbers to call. But there are several readouts here. We thought to read some of them. You care to, Mr. Phillips?
You mean the concerns that people
Yeah.
have? Yeah, so
especially
Yvonne.
Yeah. She been
You can
writing.
mute on your side so I don't echo.
Okay.
So Yvonne is saying, for Ava, the 4 lies in Liberians. They have to learn to be truthful and promote that. Stop ripping us off. And the worst part is trusting family members. They do the worst rip off. So, folks, you can see how Yvonne feels, and she's not alone. There's a lot of people. And sometimes it's extremely difficult, but I don't believe in honesty. I don't believe in trust. Because, like I said, people are human beings. We need to build systems, even if there's a level of accountability or is some little simple thing as small security or security within your business. So you can be able to stem and identify any kind of leakage quickly. Because one of the major reasons why businesses fail, the leakages, people stealing, people taking things, people shortchanging, I mean, when you got kids, you got family, and they're growing up, they think it's fun for their friends to come and just drink their pie and liquor free, or take things from the shop, or oh, my mechanic will give you discount. When the inventory comes in, they're not reporting everything. All those little things affect business, and we have to condition in our people mind how that impacts the individual who's investing their hard-earned money, how that impacts the economy itself, how that impacts you as an individual and your own character. So building integrity, building trust, building confidence, all that is about a system of accountability. Because very few people that you put in front of money or other stuff that they will not try to steal. Most people will steal. That's just human nature. People cannot be trusted, my people. You can build degree of confidence in people based on the examples they have set and how they interact with you. But the word trust, I can say, I only trust God. And sometimes I can wonder, because the way like, bro, just buy off, I can wonder if God says existing sometimes. so folks, look, we can't focus on the trust thing. We can't focus on the honesty thing. Most people know in themselves they're not honest. If nobody looking will do something that they will not normally do with people looking. L?
Let me chime in here. Yvonne, if you're listening, couple of months ago, I think Rufus, if you can remember, we talked about this in one of our teachings, right? Fundamentally, Yvonne, a wise business person, you need to understand one thing. Get a sheet of paper today, draw a line down the middle. You got to understand that there are certain decisions you make with your head, and there are certain decisions you make with your heart. Ava is right. You cannot go into business trusting anyone. You need to understand that trust cannot be brought into business. Business succeeds based on confidence. That's what business succeeds on. Number two, business succeeds on producing results. You need to produce results. Number three, if you're coming in to do business in Liberia as a diaspora, you're better off, right? Not starting from zero. Find someone, a local Liberian company. This is another show, Ava and Rufus, where the diaspora merging, integrating, building a partnership with local Liberian companies, okay? With local Liberian businesses. You're better off joining with a local Liberian business, sitting down with them, building that relationship, okay? Building that relationship with that local company, with that local, making them a local partner. When I use the word partner, I'm not saying make them a part of your business. What I'm saying is what you need to do is to bridge, create a bridge. Why? Because you're a novice. You're coming into the market. There's so many unknowns. You don't have the market intelligence. The person who's been doing business in the market, in that market segment, in that sector, has more market intelligence than you. So it's easier, it's better for you to use that person, use that relationship as a point of entry into the market. It will soften your blow. It will soften and reduce your losses when you use that person or work with that person as a point of entry. Then when you grow with that person, then you can expand, because then you can build more relationships. Last but not least, success in business is based on the relationships you make. Build good relationships, because every relationship you build is a resource that will help you to cross. The more relationships you have, the more bridges you have, and that means you can cross more rivers. And the more rivers you cross, the further you will go. So if you have limited relationships, that means you have limited bridges. That means you can't go that far. If you come into the market all by yourself, you're entering the jungle. You don't know the animals. You don't know the layout of the land. So every mistake you make is going to cost you money. So that's why it's better to build a relationship with someone who's on the ground, a local Liberian company who's in the market, get to know them, spend time with them, find out where you can bring in efficiency, where you can bring in productivity, where you can bring in profitability, where you can improve communications, as I mentioned communications, where you can use technology to enhance the business, and where you can then have the demonstrated willingness to learn. Because you have something you're bringing. Maybe that Liberian business is there. He needs more capital. That's where you're important. But you don't take the money and give it to the guy. No, that's not your role. Your role is to invest the capital while at the same time manage your money that you're putting in. Let him operate, but then you manage the money, because it's your money you're putting in. Then what happens is you share the proceeds of the investment. That's how you do it. So you don't pack the money and give it to the guys. Okay, I trust you. No. Trust has nothing to do with success in business. That's my recommendation, suggestion, and advice, Yvonne. Any more callers? Please call in. Rufus, what was your take on what we discussed today? I want to hear your take on what we talked.
Well, it was very, very, very important that these points were raised and knowledge was shared by both of you. It has brought us to the point to understand that we that are on ground, we need to develop the sense of belonging. Like I always say to people, I'm not one person who is interested in, oh yeah, that somebody on a team or that my own team before I put my mind to it. I put my mind in doing things, even if it is not mine, because I know with the mindset, when I go to do this thing right, it will serve as a recommendation for me to another person. So if I look at it and say, oh, that's somebody on a thing, so anyhow I do it. No. In order for you to get your own, you must take care of someone's own. I say this to say there are a lot of challenging moments in Liberia where Liberians just take advantage of people, most especially you guys that are in the diaspora, to see that the money is there, the opportunity is there. So they misuse these opportunities or these leverages that you in terms of business. You send like what says Yvonne is saying there, have a transport system in Liberia, and she's thinking about closing it down in December. It is so heartbreaking. After making several investments, at the end of the day, pumping money and not getting the outcome of what you've invested in the country, it is so sad. So we who are down here, it's a lesson learned for all of us. It's a lesson learned for all of us that we need to put in time and build that level of trust that is needed so that people can, who have the opportunity out there, can have more of the opportunity share with us so that we expand and Liberians can get involved into the economy. Like we always complain that we don't, our economy is not in our hands. In order to get our economy in our own hands, we must start with our own brothers and sisters who are investing in us so that we can help each other by doing the right thing. So it was wonderful listening, though we are up and down, making sure that we restore the internet as it is now. So, but the little pieces that I grabbed, it served as a lesson learned and implementation we definitely look forward to and doing what is needed to be done.
Wonderful, wonderful. Akina, if you don't have anything else to add, I will close and then you can close after me. I want to say again, thank you to you and Rufus for the platform. This is wonderful information we are sharing, and the feedback from our people is great. We really love the audience and how involved they are in the discussion. We keep trying to share this and get more people involved and more people participating. But it's wonderful knowledge we can learn from you, the callers. We can learn from all the information you are sharing, with us here. And let's look forward to making, business or Liberian thing in Liberia. Let's work together to see how we can expand and increase opportunities for Liberians. Let's work together to see how we all can build that synergy and integrate our efforts that, we're not jealous, we're not, undermining, we're not nitpicking, but we're trying to elevate and support each other in business. So thank you. Wonderful show.
Let me close here. Well, again, Rufus, thank you for the show today. A great show to all the listeners, all of the commenters, those who participated, those who listened across the world. We appreciate you very, very much. The show today was very, very good. The comments, the interaction was very, very good. Very exciting, educating stuff. I think one of my takeaway from the show is that we're making an impact. People are engaging, right? People are engaging. The only thing now is, we want you to learn. Okay. So in business, it's all about listening, it's about learning, and it's all about growing. Don't think for one moment that you know everything. That's why you have to listen, you have to learn, you have to grow. And that's what this show is all about, engaging Liberians all across the diaspora and back in Liberia, educating them, lifting us to the next level. So today we take away, don't bring trust into your business. Trust does not belong there. Confidence is the key. Build confidence with people, build relationships, and understand that you in the diaspora and you in Liberia, the key thing for the two people is to build a bridge of connection, because across that bridge, we can bring technology, we can bring remittance, we can bring know-how, we can bring experience. And you being on the ground as a local Liberian, you hold a tremendous amount of information and expertise and market intelligence. So when you match that market intelligence, that expertise in the market, and that know-how with new capital funding coming from abroad in a diaspora Liberian, there's no doubt that meeting, that connection, that relationship can bring about amazing transformational change in our country, in our community, in our economy. The other thing Ava made mention about, I think we as Liberians, as we continue to engage on this platform, we need to now start thinking about how we business Liberians or Liberian business people in the diaspora and back home can combine our efforts and create ourselves into a major lobbying group that we can pressure government, because we need to understand what our contributions through remittance means to that government, to that economy. So if we can form ourselves into a major lobbying group, just how in the US you have the lobbying group for the hotel industry, the restaurant industry, the automobile industry, the unions, we must form ourselves as a lobbying group so that we can pressure government. Mr. Vax Dixon put on here about pressuring government to remove the import duties on diaspora Liberians bringing their goods in. I mean, if those goods are going to create jobs and opportunities in Liberia, why put high import duties on there? So I think it's important that we continue this deliberation, these engagements, these discussions. We exchange ideas. Let's be engaging. Let's be supportive. There's a reason why we disagree, because you cannot have an agreement until you have a disagreement. The basis, the foundation of any agreement is disagreement. And that would be my closing. Take that away today. The foundation of every agreement is a disagreement. We must disagree first so we can strategically lay out our individual positions. And then we find those things one by one that we agree upon. And then we find those areas that we do not agree upon, and we find ways for mutual consent and mutual cooperation. Thank you so much for the show. Rufus, is over to you.
Of Topa and Mr. Alkino Phillips for the teaching. It was wonderful. The invitation is yours to join us, God willing. Next Saturday, Liberian time, 2 to 3:30 is where we're here talking about those things that matters to the growth and development of our country and giving you those business ideas so that you can excel in business from your willow market to your shop or your store. My name is Rufus Divine Cannon. Let us build Liberia. United we stand, divided we fall. Have yourselves a wonderful and God bless day.
Business Talk in 1 hour 30 minutes. We provide listeners with up-to-date information and insights into various aspects